Chapter 1. A Stranger in Paris. In 1981, Paris was a city of dreams. But for one man, it became the setting of a nightmare. Issei Sagawa, a 32-year-old Japanese student, arrived in France to study literature at the prestigious Sorbonne. Small, shy, and frail, he was often overlooked. Few could imagine the darkness he carried within him. For years, Sagawa had been haunted by violent fantasies. He believed that by consuming another person, he could absorb their beauty, strength, and vitality, qualities he thought he lacked. France offered him anonymity, freedom, and opportunity. He quickly set his plan into motion. In June, he met Renée Hartevelt, a 25-year-old Dutch student. Intelligent, kind, and fluent in several languages, she fascinated Sagawa. He invited her to his apartment under the pretense of studying German poetry together. She accepted. It would be the last decision of her life. Chapter 2. The Crime Behind Closed Doors. Inside Sagawa's small apartment, Renée sat at a low table, reading aloud from Goethe. Sagawa listened, heart pounding. At a pause in the reading, he retrieved a rifle from a closet. Before Renée could react, he shot her in the neck. She died instantly. What followed was beyond comprehension. Sagawa spent 2 days with her body, performing acts that blurred the lines between obsession and horror. He dismembered her with a butcher's knife. He ate parts of her flesh raw, saving others in his refrigerator for later. He photographed the process, took notes. When he finally decided to dispose of her remains, he packed them into 2 suitcases and hailed a cab to a local park. But he struggled under the weight. Suspicious bystanders alerted the police. When officers opened the bags, they found what Sagawa had tried to hide. And so, the nightmare spilled into the streets of Paris. Chapter 3. A Trial Without Justice. Issei Sagawa was immediately arrested. Under questioning, he confessed everything in chilling detail. He spoke not with remorse, but with a strange detachment. He described Renée's flesh as melting in his mouth like raw tuna. The French legal system faced a dilemma. Sagawa was declared legally insane by multiple psychiatrists. Instead of standing trial, he was committed to a mental institution indefinitely. But the story didn't end there. French authorities quickly grew uneasy with the burden of housing a foreign criminal. After 2 years, they quietly deported Sagawa back to Japan, assuming he would remain institutionalized there. They were wrong. Because of legal technicalities and privacy laws, Japanese doctors deemed him sane and free. Issei Sagawa, a confessed murderer and cannibal, walked out of the hospital a free man. He would never spend another day behind bars. Chapter 4. Celebrity of the Macabre. Sagawa didn't hide from the public. He embraced the infamy. Japanese media turned him into a grotesque curiosity. He wrote books about his crime, gave graphic interviews, appeared on talk shows. Some even hired him as a food critic, a twisted joke nobody seemed eager to question. He starred in movies, released manga based on his life. He was treated less like a murderer and more like a bizarre celebrity. Victims' rights groups protested, but Sagawa was protected by legal loopholes. His notoriety became his livelihood. In an industry obsessed with the strange and extreme, he was marketable. Decades passed. The world changed, but Sagawa remained. A living reminder of how badly systems can fail. A man who devoured another human and faced almost no consequences. Behind every grinning TV appearance, there lingered a darker truth. He had gotten away with it. Chapter 5. The Man Who Could Not Die. In later years, Sagawa lived quietly in a small Tokyo apartment, surviving off disability benefits. His body deteriorated. He suffered strokes, became partially paralyzed, and grew dependent on caretakers. Still, he granted interviews. Still, he spoke openly of his crime, sometimes with shame, sometimes with nostalgia. When asked if he felt remorse, his answer shifted. Sometimes he said yes. Other times, he admitted he still dreamed of tasting human flesh again. In 2022, Issei Sagawa finally died at the age of 73 from complications related to pneumonia. His death went mostly unnoticed. No public ceremony, no mourning. For many, it was long overdue. For others, it raised deeper, uncomfortable questions. How could such a crime end in so little justice? How could a system designed to protect the innocent allow a killer to become a media icon? Sagawa's story isn't just about horror. It's about failure. Legal, moral, human. And now, the cannibal of Paris is gone. But the questions he left behind still linger. Chapter 6. The Monster in the Mirror. Even after his death, Issei Sagawa's legacy refuses to fade. True crime enthusiasts dissected every detail of his case. Artists, writers, and filmmakers continued to reference him, sometimes portraying him as a tragic figure, other times as a living nightmare. In Japan, Sagawa became a symbol of collective shame, a man who embodied a society's failure to confront its darkest instincts. In the West, he was a chilling reminder that evil can wear a disarmingly human face. Internet forums resurrected his interviews. New documentaries re-examined the case with morbid fascination. His crime became almost mythologized, twisted into urban legends, memes, and horror lore. Meanwhile, those who knew Renée Hartevelt never forgot. Her family, devastated and largely ignored in the media frenzy, lived with a permanent wound. They watched helplessly as the man who had destroyed their daughter was turned into an icon of infamy. There were no justice campaigns, no statues, no official apology, only silence. The cannibal of Paris didn't just murder a woman. He exposed how the world can sensationalize atrocity, feeding on it long after the blood has dried. Sagawa became a reflection, not just of his own monstrousness, but of ours. Because in the end, the real horror wasn't just what he did. It was how easily we let him live among us. Chapter 7. Lessons Left Behind. Today, the story of Issei Sagawa remains a case study for legal experts, psychologists, and criminologists. It forces uncomfortable questions. How do different cultures handle justice? Can someone who commits the unthinkable ever be truly rehabilitated? France wanted to rid itself of him. Japan didn't know what to do with him. The loopholes between two legal systems allowed a confessed killer to live freely for decades. It exposed cracks in international law, gaps that even today remain dangerously open. More importantly, Sagawa's case challenges the way media shapes public memory. In chasing sensationalism, the real victim, Renée Hartevelt, was often reduced to a mere footnote. Her life, her potential, her humanity, all overshadowed by the man who ended it. In the end, Issei Sagawa did more than commit a crime. He revealed how easily a society can become complicit in forgetting the true cost of horror.